Secretary of State Marco Rubio insisted that the controversial, Russia-friendly 28-point Ukraine war peace plan was authored by the US, despite a group of senators suggesting otherwise, and the European Union raising concerns. Some of those senators, including Angus King, Independent Maine, who suggested Rubio described the 28-point plan as a wish list of the Russians, stood by their concerns about Moscow's influence over the proposal. The peace proposal was authored by the US. It is offered as a strong framework for ongoing negotiations, Rubio claimed on Saturday. It is based on input from the Russian side. But it is also based on previous and ongoing input from Ukraine. The plan appears to have been developed after extensive consultation with the Russians and little, if any, input from Ukraine or our European allies, King said in a statement. There are many problems with the plan as it has been reported, but the two most obvious are that it rewards Russia's illegal and unprovoked aggression by handing over substantial portions of Ukraine's sovereign territory, and its security guarantees against further Russian aggression are vague and inadequate. He added, questions had swirled after the blueprint emerged last week, with experts noting how it appeared to have been translated from Russian to English then, on Saturday, reports emerged from a bipartisan delegation of senators that spoke with Rubio while attending the Halifax International Security Forum in Canada, claiming that the Secretary of State informed lawmakers the 28-point blueprint was really a Russian wishlist. Senior Mike Rounds, Republican South Dakota, who was on that call, had publicly claimed Rubio called the bipartisan delegation of senators and claimed the secretary told them, "It is not our recommendation, it is not our peace plan." Representative Don Bacon, Arnab, one of the most pro-Ukrainian GOP voices in the House of Representatives, called for the Trump administration to fire people over the confusion about the plan. Some people better get fired on Monday for the gross buffoonery we just witnessed over the last 4 days, Bacon said on X. This hurt our country and undermined our alliances, and encouraged our adversaries. Other prominent senators such as Senator Mark Warner, Democrat Virginia, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, panned the proposal. This initial plan would be a total capitulation by Ukraine. I think it would go down, frankly, as a historically bad deal, rivaling Neville Chamberlain giving in to Hitler before World War II, Warner told Fox News Sunday. The controversial 28-point plan would have war-torn Ukraine make dramatic concessions, including ceding the entirety of the Donbass region, which the Russians have been unable to fully take over by military force for over a decade. Ukraine would also have to commit to never joining NATO, slimming down its military force from roughly 900,000 to 600,000 personnel and giving amnesty to everyone involved in the war, meaning that Russians couldn't face war crime claims. Critically, the Russian side would make very few concessions, per the plan. Concessions for Russia in the plan include Moscow being expected not to invade its neighbors in the future and Ukraine getting some security guarantees. Russia would also agree to relinquish any territories outside Crimea, Luhansk and Donetsk, as well as the portions of Zaporizhia and Kherson it controls. In exchange, the US would agree to reintegrate Russia into the global economy. Key EU members quickly raised apprehension about the plan, which had reportedly been developed by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. In consultation with both Ukrainian and Russian officials, she laid out 3 main pillars for a peace deal to end the war. First, borders cannot be changed by force. Second, as a sovereign nation there cannot be limitations on Ukraine's armed forces that would leave the country vulnerable to future attack and thereby also undermining European security, von der Leyen said. Third, the centrality of the European Union in securing peace for Ukraine must be fully reflected, she continued. Ukraine must have the freedom and sovereign right to choose its own destiny. They have chosen a European destiny. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk raised concerns about who authored the 28-point plan. Together with the leaders of Europe, Canada, and Japan, we have declared our readiness to work on the 28-point plan despite some reservations, Tusk posted on X. However, before we start our work, it would be good to know for sure who is the author of the plan and where was it created. Notably, after President Trump's meeting with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky last month, the US president publicly called for ending the war along the current battle lines. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt stood by the plan during a press briefing last week. President Trump has made it very clear since day one, and even on the campaign trail, that he wants to see this war come to an end. He has grown increasingly frustrated with both sides of this war, Russia and Ukraine alike, for their refusal to commit to a peace agreement, she said last week.